Blonde Cards and Crafts. Let's make something together. Hello and welcome to my 10 cards 1 kit video. Links are in the description to the products I'll be using. So our first card is this elegant pop-up easel block card. Now you can find links to Mixed Up Crafts and Iced Images version of this card. So to start, I have a piece of cardstock measuring 11.5 by 5, and I'm scoring it at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8. We're going to then fold and burnish all those score lines to make our easel card. Now we're missing a piece to finish the easel card, or to have it actually stand up in an easel position. So once I've finished burnishing all these, we're going to have another piece of card that we will add to this. So I'm happy now with that, and it's always important to burnish your score lines. So this is how the box part or the block part will sit on our easel card. And then we need the easel part, and that's this piece here. So this piece of cardstock measures 4 by 5. And I'm going to score it at 3.5 on the 4-inch side. There you go. And that little tab there will sit over, and that gives us our easel base. Now I want to put a panel to sit on front of that, but I also need a panel to sit inside, and I have these two pieces here. My pink piece measures 2 3/4 by 4 3/4, and then the white piece measures 2.5 by 4.5, and we'll stamp a sentiment on that. I then have this white panel, and it's a 5 by 7 panel. I have the pink panel, it's 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and then I have a lovely piece of pattern paper that's going to sit on top of it. Now we need a piece that measures 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, but our pattern paper only goes as far as 6 inches. So that piece measures 4 3/4 by 5 5/8, because I'm going to add some washi tape across the bottom. Now I've put it on a piece of white cardstock, and that'll sit across there, and that'll then give us our floral image of 6 3/4 in length. I've die cut out 2 of the butterflies, and I've used the die that has come in the kit. It's a beautiful die, and it cuts out loads of pieces, so it gives you this filigree look. You can see it here. Now, it started life as a white die cut butterfly, but I have taken a couple of colors from my stash, and I'll have them linked down below, and I have stamped them. I've blended them in using a blending brush. I'm using Spectrum Noir inks. They're the Harmony ones, and as well as that I use some Papercraft Society ink as well in all my inkings today. So I have this one I've stamped with love, one of the stamps that came in the kit, and then I've stamped this on it's out of a different stamp set. Now I've given the wings a little bit of depth, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this one down here. I'm going to pop the On Your Birthday around about there, and then I've die cut out this little birthday sentiment, and this was a die that we got in a previous kit. And then that will be how our card front will look. So to add my little piece, my easel piece, to our easel base, I'm using some strong double-sided tape. And I want to make sure that sits nice and evenly there and folds over nicely. To make our block part, or the box part of our card, I'm using some Cosmic Shimmer glue. And you can see there how it's going to sit nicely when it's in place. To decorate that block part, I'm using some washi tape, and I'm cutting it to size there at 4 3/4, and I'm just sitting it across my ruler, getting my 4 3/4 inches long piece. I'm putting a little bit of glue underneath because I don't want that washi peeling up, and washi tape is generally a low tack tape, so it's always good to use either a double-sided tape or liquid glue if you're sticking it on your card. So we have our front panel on now, and we have our beautiful block easel card. And you can decorate the block part. You could put a sentiment on the front of that as well. So it would be a stepped sentiment in front of the easel part that I'm decorating now. But I really didn't want to take away anything from the beautiful pattern paper that I have on this, or the beautiful matching washi tape that I have on it. So my sentiment will be on the front here. And you can see my birthday, I have taken some white cardstock. I used the same dark blue that I put on the butterfly's wings, as well as on my sentiments, the On Your and birthday that I've stamped. And there we go, our first card finished. Now we're moving on to card number 2, and this is a Z-fold card, and it measures 12 by 6, and I've scored it at 3 and 6. I'm going to fold my cardstock in half, and then I'm going to fold the first score line back on itself. And this will give us our standard Z-fold card. Now for this Z-fold, I'm going to put a large piece on the very front. It literally is covering the whole 6 inches. And I'm going to use circles for that. First, I'm going to put a piece of pattern paper inside, but I wanted to have two pieces of pattern paper to match on those two panels. So I took some acrylic black paint and I spattered it on some white paint. When it was dry then, I cut those two panels. My pattern paper, it measures 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and I was initially going to cover it up with this piece that measures 5 by 5, but I thought, well, you know what, I gutted this piece of pattern paper because I didn't want to lose all this beautiful paper, and I did it with a circle die. So you can see there, I would have had this piece of pattern paper covered up with most of the sentiment piece. So I decided, do you know what, I'm going to pop the pattern paper on top, and it gives it a lovely different look, and then it ties all our circles together. So I've taken 2 circle dies. These are nesting dies from my stash, and the largest one, I wanted it to fit in on the front of the card base. I've taken a sentiment, some of the stickers. Now the sentiment I had in my stash, all the stickers I have taken from the kit, and then I have these fabulous heart peel-offs. These are available on Lizi's web shop, and I thought I would pull the hearts from our pattern paper onto our focal point at the front of the card, and then our white panels that we used the acrylic paint to splatter the front. I'm going to stick some of those hearts on that as well, and it'll tie all our hearts together. So I have some foam tape on the back of my white circle panel, and now I'm going to add that down. Now we're only putting glue on the left hand side. I'm going to mark that with my pencil so I know how far to bring my glue across on this circle. I'm using my Collal construction glue for this. It'll dry lovely and solid and stiff. I'll make sure my sentiment is level, give that time then to dry, and there we go. We have this lovely big image on the front of our Z-fold card, and I think it looks fabulous, and I love the black and white, and I think my spattered panels look great with the hearts on them too. So there we go, that's card 2 finished, and we're moving on to card 3. Now this is a 6 by 6 card base here that I have. It's scalloped, and to allow for the scalloped, I need to put a piece of pattern paper on it, but this pattern paper is only 5.5 by 5.5. That way we can see the scallops nicely around the edge. I've taken these straight sparkly pink peel-offs and I've decorated the edge of my pattern paper. And then I have this lovely strip of pattern paper. It's from the previous first card, and it measures 5.5 by 1 1/4. I've stamped my With Love sentiment from the kit on this, and then I've taken an offcut strip. I've put some peel-offs on it. Again, it's 5.5 inches long. Now I've taken 2 of those beautiful butterflies, and I have backed them with some pink cardstock from my stash. I've put some foam tape on them, and I've put a little piece of double-sided tape down the middle of them. To make this butterfly, what I did was I die cut out my butterfly in the yellow. I placed it on some pink card and drew around it. Then I took my scissors and I fussy cut that out. Now I fussy cut it inside the pencil line because I want it to be a little bit smaller than our yellow butterfly, so that none of the pink card is peeking out from behind the wings. So I did that the whole way around, and then I stuck that on. Now you can stick it down on flat like I did with this one. All of the yellow wings is stuck onto the pink cardstock. And I'm going to place that somewhere around the top there like that. This one is the same with foam tape, but I didn't put some up at the top corner there because I wanted to overlap. And I've also put some little dots of foam tape behind that second butterfly so the wings are raised up a little bit. So I have my panels now all glued down. I'm adding a little bit of glue to this butterfly so the wing tip is stuck down to our With Love panel. I'll add my top butterfly as well so it overlaps a little, and then inside I'll decorate. I'll stamp a hello there, and it's from one of Lizi's stamp set, and you'll see that in the pictures. Now we're moving on to this piece. It's 12 by 6 and I'm scoring it at 3 and 6. This is going to make an easel card for us. So I'm folding it in half, and then I'm going to fold the other score line. I'm going to fold it as well. So I'll have 2 mountain folds. If we were to do a valley fold here, it would give us a sea fold card. But because we're putting a mountain fold on it, this is what will give us an easel card. So it's very similar to our first card. We just don't have the block or on the front. I have 2 panels in cream, and these 2 measure 5 3/4 by 2 3/4. And then my pattern paper measures 5 1/2 by 2 1/2, and we have 2 of those as well. This panel is going to pop up on our easel card, and it measures 5 by 3 1/2. The cream piece, it measures 4 3/4 by 3 1/4, and our pattern paper measures 4 1/2 by 3. And I'll layer those 3 pieces together as well. I also have this cream piece of card, and it's 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and our white panel is 5 1/2 by 5 1/2. This is an offcut strip. It's about 1/2 inch by 5 1/2, and it'll sit across the bottom like so. I stamped out this With Love sentiment box. You can see it here, and I used some gold embossing powder and I heated that up to melt it. I took the With Love stamp here and I stamped that inside it. Then I just took some markers, or they're actually a fine tip colored pens that I have in my stash, and I very easily just colored them up using a darker green, a lighter green, and then a light pink and a darker pink. There's no special colouring involved there really. I'm not a colourist. I've stamped and embossed 4 of these leaf and coloured them in as well, those leaf sprigs. Okay, so now we're going to put in our panels. I have the cream, white and pattern paper already stuck down. We'll use one of these leaf sprigs as a stopper, and I'll put some foam behind that. In the meantime now, I'm going to glue down all my panels and then add them to our card base. And I was looking at this card and I was debating with the pop-up piece whether to put the piece of pattern paper on it. I thought it might look very much of a much, but I do have some family members, and when they see these colors and pattern papers, I know they're going to love them. So hence the reason I went ahead with it. But you don't have to put the pattern paper on this panel like I did. So this is how I know how far to go with my glue. I flip the piece over, see where I want it to sit, and then I know how far up to go with my glue. Now we'll add our lovely gold embossed floral box, and we'll add our sprigs then to beside that. And I'm going to put 3 around the box part, and then 1 I'm going to put, as I said, below as our stopper piece. Now I could have used the strip of pattern paper on the inside, put some foam tape on that and had that as the stopper, but I liked how this looked for a finish with the strip at the bottom of the white panel. So I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, but you'll see it now once I lift this up. You see that strip there? I think it looks nice at the end. So I have these very thin strips of foam tape that I've got on Amazon, and I'm going to use that to give this piece a little lift, just enough that it'll, you know, keep the front of our card up. I'm embellishing it using these beautiful gems that we got in the kit. I had debated using some of the sequins in the center of the flower. What I will do is I'll put one of the copper sequins in the center of the flower and then add a gem into that. You don't see me do it in the video, but it does look frightfully good. So there we go, there's our easel card done. Now we're moving on to this card, and this is using washi tape. My card base is a 6x6 card base. I have a 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 white panel that'll go on the inside, and I also have one that's going to go on the outside. You see only one panel here, but I do have another panel off to the side there. I'm going to take this lovely little bird die that came in the kit, and I'm going to die cut him out 4 times. Now I took a piece of the blue cardstock that we used for the card base. I then took one of my blending brushes and some ink, and I just randomly dotted some of the ink onto the blue cardstock. When it was dry then, I die cut out my little birds, and you'll see it gives them a lovely little, you know, lift to their body, gives a bit of dimension to them. So I have these 3 pieces of washi tape here, and I'm going to layer them across our white panel, and I'm going to divide each row of the washi tape using these beautiful blue and gold edged peel-offs that I have in my stash. So I'm going to decide at what angle I want my washi tape. I'm cutting it long enough so I can wrap it around my panel, and then I'm going to add on my peel-offs, and I think these are beautiful. The blue is so close in colour to the card base that I've used as well. So I'm putting it across the top and across the bottom, and then I'm going to take another washi tape and I'm going to keep layering like this using the peel-offs and the washi tape. And I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strips of washi tape across this panel. And I think you could put all your strips of washi tape down, leave a very fine line of the white cardstock underneath between them, or a gap, and then do all your washi tape at the one time. But I had an idea for this card, but I hadn't really it firmly planted in my mind how I was going to do it. And for a finish, I decided that I would take the skinny ones, and I would have that at the top and bottom as well. Now I have them all rolled behind our panel, and I'm just using some double-sided tape to make sure that they stay down, and then I'll use my construction glue, my Collal glue, behind that to stick that down. And once that panel then dries, you'll find that it gives great strength, makes it nice and strong. I stamped this with sympathy sentiment that I had in my stash on this panel. I stamped some of the leaf sprig. I did 1st, 2nd and 3rd generation stamping on that. I fussy cut around the leaf sprig part. I've added one of the little birds to that, and I felt that was it for my outside. For the inside panel, I put some more of the washi tapes, the peel-offs. I stamped a sentiment in there, and then I put some more of the sprig across the top of the sentiment, and then I thought, sure, I'll do some at the top corner. And then I thought, well, you know what, that looks so lovely, I'm going to do that on the outside of the card. So again, you can see I'm stamping down once, twice, and sometimes 3 times, because there is residue left on the stamp, and it gives a lovely kind of you know, image of the leaves in the background. So I really thought that was lovely. Now I'm going to glue our panel inside our card. I'm using my Collal glue for this, and once that panel has got its glue on it, we'll then stick that inside. And I just love the look of this card. I know it's a sympathy card, but I think it's so pretty and it really is one of my favorites. I have a couple. I don't have a favorite, but this is up there with some of the others. Okay, now we're moving on to our next card, and I have some inks here. I've die cut out some butterflies, and I'm using these two yellow pieces. I die cut out the butterfly in yellow earlier on our previous card, and I want to use those as a stencil. So I have a 5x7 card base here, and I have this panel. It measures 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. Now you can cut your panel a little bigger and then cut it down to size when you're finished, but I had mine ready made there. So what I want to do is I want to take my stencil, which is my die cut out butterfly image, and I'm going to then use my blending brushes to blend on some colorful blends of the inks together. So I have this lovely green, which is called Spring Meadow, and it's again the Harmony inks by Spectrum Noir. I've also got the Plum Jam, and I've got the Ocean Blue. They're the three colors that I'm blending together here. Blending them a little so the color overlaps, so you know the green and the blue kind of blend together, and my green is a kind of a yellowy green, so when it blends in with the blue it makes a darker shade of the green. It's really lovely. So I'm doing this in a couple of places. I like the way the butterflies look as if they're, you know, flying off the card, and I will stick my die cut butterflies flat down on top. You could have left the center one, you know, with the wings only, the butterfly only glued down in the middle and the wings left, you know, so that they can be lifted up, but I'm going to put a sentiment across them. So I'm getting ahead of myself now. I've all my blending done. I'm going to take off my washi tape now off my panel, and once I've that all done, then I can start sticking down my die cut butterflies. Isn't that lovely? I just love that. Now I spotted that I got a little bit of ink on the edge at one side, and I thought, well, rather than having that there, what I'm doing is I'm going around the edge of my panel with my blending brushes. So I'm not getting ink on the front edge, just along the top edge. And it's lovely when the panel then is set on the card base, you get this glimmer of ink around the edge. And I will zoom in a little bit later on so you can see. So now I'm going to stick down my butterflies, and you can see I've zoomed in on this part. I just wanted you to be able to see how I'm lining up my die cut with our blended butterflies. And then I just take a pencil, mark where my edge is, trim that down, and then I just stick that down back over the top. Very simple. So I'll continue on with that now, measuring up all my little butterflies, cutting them to size, and then gluing them down. I've all my die cut butterflies now adhered to my panel, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to frame this panel using some of the peel-offs that came in the kit, and I'm mitering the corners, so where the peel-offs cross over I'm placing down my knife and I'm putting a bit of pressure on it to cut into the two. Then I'll take away the little extra bits there, and it gives that image that you get when you have a framed picture. I love this. I think it looks great. The little itty bits of peel off, I will just pop them in the bin, but the longer pieces I put back onto my peel off sheet to use another day. So that's our panel more or less finished. I'll just add a little pressure now to the peel offs to make sure they stay in place. And now we can take some liquid glue and we can glue down our panel to our card base. And I have to say, I loved this panel, and I hadn't decided what I was going to do, whether it would be for a birthday card or a with love card. And I decided for a finish, this would make a lovely baby card. So I've stamped out a little sentiment from the Christina Griffiths verses, and I'll have links to products down below. It says, "So tiny, so small, and loved by all." I've taken this Hello die, and it's from a previous kit, from a July kit from Love from Lizi. And I'm going to put again those very skinny strips of foam tape behind the letters on this, and I'm going to sit it so the word hello sits astride the top of our little sentiment panel there. And what I did was I took some of my inks that we used for our butterflies, I spread them on some cardstock and die cut them out so the colors are similar. Inside, I've done the blending again with our butterfly stencils using the same 3 colors at the top and the bottom, as well as put a nice sentiment inside. And there you go, our Hello Baby card. For this card, I have a 6x6 card base. Again, we have a piece of 12x6 scored at 6 to make our card base if you're making it yourself. I have this piece of patterned paper. It measures 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and I've embellished it using 2 of the washi tapes that came in the kit. Again, I've used some of the peel-offs that came in the kit, and I have embellished them with 3 of those peel-offs. I've taken one of the cut aparts from the sheets that we got. I have embellished that on the left and right with some peel-offs, and I put some foam tape behind that. I've taken 3 little words from our sticker sheet. I put them onto some of the pink cardstock and I cut around that. I have a panel for the inside measuring 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and I was going to add some of the washi tape, a strip of the pattern paper, and put that at the bottom inside, but I'm not going to use that for a finish, so I won't give you the measurements because I'm going to stamp a sentiment and do again some 2nd generation stamping. This is the stamp set that I'll be using, and I'll be using the stamp that says hello there, and I'm going to use some of the sprigs again that came in the kit. So with our main panel on the front, I'm going to then put our focal panel on top, and I'm sticking that down at a jaunty angle. You know, rather than it all being straight, I just thought that would be cute. I'm going to glue down my 3 sticker words, and one is wonderful, the other is delightful, and then the final one is charming. So I think this would be a nice card to send to maybe a friend or someone that you haven't had a chat with in a while, or just to kind of, you know, hello there, how are you doing, kind of a card. So I have some ink, my lovely dark blue. This is a Papercraft Society ink, so I can't link it, but I just picked a blue similar to the blue tones on the front of the card. Then I'm going to take one of the little leaf sprigs, and this one is from the add-on set that I got in my kit that you can purchase from Lizi's website. So I'm using the Plum Jam ink, and I'm going to stamp down once, then lift it, stamp it down a 2nd time, and then a 3rd time. Now I do stamp off on some of them, but I do put 1st, 2nd and 3rd generation stamping there. And I kind of thought it picked up some of the image from the cut apart out of the front. It wasn't exactly the same, but it was very similar. So I glue this panel now down to the inside of our card. My glue was playing up there a little bit. It got a bit snotty, is what I like to call it. When the glue gets cold, it can become a little bit thickened. So my craft room hadn't warmed up by this stage really, so it was a bit slow in coming out. So there we go, there's that card, our hello there card. I'm going to embellish the front panel using 3 of the little gems that we got in the kit as well, and that is that card all finished. For our next card, I have this piece of cardstock. It measures 12 by 6 and I've scored it at 6 on the long side. This will give us a 6 by 6 card base. And I loved this color. I had this cardstock in my stash. I think it picked out the tones on the rabbits and the deer and some of the flowers really well in the pattern paper I have there. So I'm just burnishing the score line on my card base, and I'm happy with that now. So I have this piece of pattern paper. It measures 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and I'm going to stick that onto the front of my card. I then want to die cut an opening into this card, and I'm going to use a circle die because this piece of white cardstock, which measures again 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, I want to see through my panel here into the inside of our card. I want to do a seam. So I've taken 2 dies and I have cut out a frame using these nested dies. The frame will go on the front, and then what I'll do is I'll take the inner die and I will use that to die cut out our opening. I like to die cut out my frame first and then the opening in my card base. That way I know they're going to be perfect. So that's what I've done there. You can see now I'm pulling out the die cut piece out of our card front, and I will keep that little piece of cardstock on that round panel and use it in another card. I glue down my frame to this. Now if you look, you'll see I've actually die cut off the 2 heads on our lovely little deer. But I will fix that later using some of the stickers that came in the kit. I've taken this Happy New Home stamp sentiment which I had in my stash, and I want that to be the focal point. Now I was going to use 2 of these little wood pieces that came in the kit. We got a number of wood pieces and I wanted to use them. So the one that looks like a flower, I thought that would look like a sun, and I colored that in yellow. So I've taken 2 of the deer and they fit perfectly over the deer that is on the pattern paper. So one of them I have on the left hand side. The one on the right, because it's not a mirror image, I have stuck that down so it's kind of in front of the one behind. Now you can see there we'll have some of the sticker, and I don't want those sticking to the inside of my card, so I've used my embossing friend or my embossing buddy. The powder will take the stickiness off the stickers there. I've also stuck one of the stickers inside of the deer as well as the butterfly, and I've put a squirrel there on top of the happy, but don't mind it, I'm going to take it off. I've used the grass edge die that we got in our die set, and I've taken it 2 colors of green and die cut those out so that my little deer doesn't look as if he's standing in the middle of the air. He's on this grassy piece. And I've moved then my little squirrel down because I didn't think he looked right up there in the air. So there we go, that's our new home card. Our next card is card number 9, and for this card I'm going to be using a 5 by 7 card base. To make one, all you need is a piece of cardstock measuring 10 by 7, scored at 5 on the long side, and that'll give you a 5 by 7 card base. I need a panel that will measure 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. Now my pattern paper is a little bit short, so I'm going to use the piece that I've cut off to fill in down to the bottom. So I'm going to stick these 2 together using some sellotape on the back. I've made this tag using one of the images on the cut apart sheet. I've some foam tape behind that, and I also have this tag that I've made as well using some of the patterned paper sheets, the 6 by 6 sheets that came in the kit, and I've punched out holes at the top of these to add ribbon if you like. So these will be the focal point on the front of our card. Now I have these black peel-offs. They're 3 different width peel-offs that I have in my stash, and I'm going to embellish the front of the card using those. So this is the back of the pattern paper. Isn't it lovely? I would have liked to have used this, but I wouldn't have been able to meet up the pattern, hence the reason I used the other side. I'm going to use a little bit of sellotape or sticky tape, whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to join the 2 of those together at the back. So now that I have a piece that's long enough to go on our 5 by 7 card. I have stuck that down using some glue, and really I should have waited. I should have put my peel-offs on, rounded them over the edge so they'll be stuck down at the back, but I didn't think of it. I just was so eager to finish this card that I just stuck the panel down. So do as I say, not as I do. but it still works perfectly once you apply pressure to your peel-offs so that they're pressed down, because the glue on the back of the peel-off is activated by pressure. A lot of our glues on our tapes and peel-offs and stuffs like that, they are activated really by adding pressure to them. So I have 2 strips down the left and 2 across where our panels met. I decided I wanted to bring in some of the color that's in our little butterfly panel, and this roll of washi tape was kind of the closest that I could get to that. So I've added that on there. So that's how the front of this card is going to look. I'm going to glue this piece down, but I just wanted the top of it lifted a bit. So I'm going to put a little piece of foam tape just underneath where the punch out is. I'll add some glue then to the bottom half of this and then glue that down. So it gives a bit of dimension. And then I'll add some foam tape to the top right hand side of this 3 butterfly panel so that it's level with the one underneath. Now I want to embellish the front of the card, and I thought these lovely black stickers would look fabulous. So I'm just taking, they look kind of like little stars or sparkles. I've added 2 of them, one to the top left and one to the bottom right. Then I'm going to take these wreaths and I'm going to cut them down. And I'm just, you know, listening to some music. I had Ed Sheeran on a lot in the background while I was crafting. And I'm just listening and humming and singing away and just enjoying my crafting, really, is what I was doing throughout all these cards. And just, you know, doing what kind of looked good and made me happy. So that's the front of our card done. Inside, I'm going to stamp the thank you. We got a beautiful stamp set last month in our kit, a thank you set, and it works. The thank you set works with our stamp set that we got this month as well. I've stuck down one of the butter stickers, butterfly stickers, butter stickers inside. I'm putting down one of our peel-offs, and I'll wrap that around the top and bottom. And even though it's wrapping around to the back of the card, I'm going to get clever with that. I'm going to take the black and white or black and clear washi tape. I'm going to lay that next to our peel off, and I'm going to wrap that around, and I'm going to put some glue on the back and then bring that up so it meets the top of our washi tape on the back side. And it looks lovely because I've stamped my sentiment, my logo on the back of the card, my Blonde Cards and Crafts logo on the back, and I've done it in an ink that's very similar to this lovely creamy colored washi tape, this thin strip here, and it really the back looks as nice. And the peel-offs, they're tucked underneath the washi tape at the back of the card. So to finish this card, I'm going to put some Spectrum Noir sparkle pen on our butterfly. And that's our thank you card finished. And now we're moving on to card 10, and this is going to be a slimline card. I make mine to match my envelopes that I have, so this is 8 by 8 1/4. I've scored it at 4, and that will give me a 4 by 8 1/4 slimline card base. Onto that, I'm going to add a piece of cream cardstock, and this measures 3 3/4 by 5 1/2, and my pattern paper is 3 1/2 by 5 1/4. I've marked up here 3/4 of an inch from the bottom left and the same from the bottom right, and I found my center point. I want to cut this shape into the bottom of my cream card, and I'm going to do that with my pattern paper as well. I've measured up 3/4 of an inch on the right, 3/4 of an inch on the left, found my center point, and I will cut the V into the bottom of that. I'm going to die cut out 2 pieces of pink cardstock. Now I was going to die cut out the cream cardstock here, but I want a nice pink trim on this, so I'll die cut out 2 pieces of pink cardstock using the die that came in this kit, and you'll see that later on because that's how this card evolves. So that's what I'm going to do later. You'll also see there I have stamped this little baby girl stamp. It's from a stamp in my stash, and if I can find links to the stamps etc. that I used, I will add them down below. So you can see now I've trimmed down my cream cardstock and my pattern paper piece. I'm going to layer this on top, and I'm bringing this so that it is level with the cream cardstock on top. So once that's down, you can see then I have my two pieces of pink grassy edge border here, and I'm going to join them in the middle. Now I'm not gluing down the very middle part where these join because I want to be able to cut this off so it has a miter finish, but it doesn't have to be too perfect, guys, because I'm going to take one of the stickers from the sticker sheet and add that onto that pink little edge piece there. So I'm going to have a look at the stickers and rifle through. I was debating whether I would put one of the flowers down, but I loved this little pink bow that came on the sticker sheet. And I was just having a look through the rest of them to see, I'm going to take some of those stickers and embellish the inside of the card. So I'm happy with all the bits and pieces I have. I'm going to glue down our panels here onto the front of our card, and again this is glued level with the top of our card. I'm taking my pink little bow here, and I was going to stick that straight on, and I thought I wanted to have more of an impact with the bow. It kind of gets lost, so I stuck it down onto some white cardstock, and I'm fussy cutting around it, and really it isn't hard to do that if you're any bit good at fussy cutting. My tip to you is have good light so you can see what you're doing. Have a sharp scissors. It makes it all the easier when you then fussy cut that out. I'm going to take a little foam sticker that I have in my stash, and I'm going to put that behind the middle of our bow and stick that down over where our two pieces of trim join together. I'm also going to add some foam tape to the back of my baby girl sentiment. And I have some foam tape that I've cut down to fit across this piece. And you can see there I have it cut at an angle at the edge. So once I peel off the release paper, I'll stick that down under the duck. So now, just to finish embellishing the front of the card, I'm going to use some of the sequins that came in the kit, and I'm going to dot them around the front of my card base. I will later add two little ducks to the inside of our card. I'll stamp the sentiments so tiny, so small, and loved by all. And I'll take one of the little banners that has so sweet on it as well. You don't see me finish the inside of the card here, but you'll see it in the pictures at the end of the video, which we've more or less come to now. We have all our 10 cards made, and I have to say I really enjoyed this card kit that Lizi has brought out this month. I do enjoy using Lizi's card kits, and although I'm a designer on her team, I had been purchasing the kits every month because I loved making cards for my stash, using them. And there is an angel policy. You can sell on your cards as long as you hand make them and you don't make them in bulk. Now we got some lovely charms in our kit, 4 charms, and I thought I'm going to use them to make a lovely little glue pin for my glue bottle. They're called glue pin jewelry, if you believe it or not, so that you don't lose your pin. I had an awful habit of losing the pins on my table. I have a video on my channel on how to make glue pin jewelry if you're interested. So here we go. I'm going to leave you with some images of the cards we've made. If you liked my video, you might consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're a subscriber, thanks for subscribing. And if not, you might click on the subscribe button down below, as well as the bell icon. That way you'll be notified each time I post a new video. You can find me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit. And I really hope that you'll have a look at the Love from Lizi kits. They are such a joy and they are so well worth the money. Don't forget you can check out the other design team members for Love from Lizi who've made brilliant cards. They are Best Things in Life Are Pink, that's Christy Marcotte, Crazy Paper Chick, that's Alicia, and Ella Art and Craft, that's Alina. So they will be making videos using this card kit. Some of them have posted already and some of them will be coming up shortly, so keep an eye out for them. So that's it, my friends. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye for now.